This is my pitch of Forrest and Johnston Episode 5 Confusion. Forrest and Johnston are reinvestigating a case of a child murder. They start at the graveyard, but Johnston seems very reluctant to restart the case again. When he asks Forrest to leave, Forrest seems to be very annoyed with him. He then goes to question the sister, Nancy Davidson. Nancy tells him that she had an awful childhood when her little brother Humphrey was born, and that she did some terrible things in her past to get money for the house she needed, as she was thrown out at the age of 14. Johnston tells Nancy to call him by his first name, Perry, but she seems reluctant to accept this offer. When Johnston leaves, he is very frustrated and confused. Forrest reminds Johnston that he is late for a meeting, and Johnston becomes very angry. He tells Forrest why he is so frustrated, and he then begins to look at the board of evidence. Forrest then tells Johnston to lock up after he's finished, as he wants to call it a day and go home. After a couple of minutes, after Forrest has left, the door swings open and the lights go off suddenly. Johnston thinks it's Forrest playing a joke. However, it's Nancy. She walks up to him and kisses him gently. They then express their feelings for each other. They kiss again. This episode ends on a cliffhanger, leaving the audience in suspense. Forrest is 45 years old and a police inspector. His full name is Hugh Forrest and he is very clever. However, he is somewhat reserved and extremely posh. He can be pedantic over evidence and lateness. He also tends to sound patronising towards Johnston. He wants to complete the case and find the perpetrator. However, he fears that he cannot do so. Johnston is a 30-year-old police investigator and is Forrest's partner. His full name is Perry Johnston. He is very clever, but not as in tune with his brain as Forrest. Johnston is also quite posh. However, he can get annoyed over simple things and can be reluctant to do things at times. He also has feelings for one of the suspects, Nancy. He hopes that Nancy isn't the perpetrator, and he fears that Nancy is. Miss Davidson. She is the victim's sister and a vital suspect. She has a very dark past. However, she seems to be very outgoing with Johnston. Her full name is Nancy Davidson and she is 20 years old. She has very strong feelings for Johnston, but at the same time is a little wary of him. She fears that she will get rejected by Perry, but she hopes that he feels the same way about her. The costume for the character Forrest would be a long overcoat with a suit underneath and simple black shoes. Johnston's character would also wear a suit, but with a hat and simple black shoes. The sister's costume would just be casual clothing with a shawl around her neck. The only props in this episode are a customised gravestone, 2 mugs and the evidence board. Everything else will be filmed on site. This TV series is set in America and is also in the early 60s. The 2 main roles are played by 2 males, and the sister has to be played by a woman. There is no multi-rolling in this episode because there aren't enough parts. In this episode there are 2 main themes, one of which is violence and the other is crime. The genre of the whole TV series is period drama. It is also a murder mystery. My target audience would be older teenagers and upwards, as some of the themes are not suitable for children to watch. I did some research and found out that in the 1960s the crime rate for violence, rape and murder were particularly high. The crime rate for people causing violence in the US was 288,460. The crime rate for people who were murdered was 9,110, and the crime rate for people who were raped was 17,190. I got the idea for this TV episode after looking up some other programs that were mysteries or thrillers, and even some period dramas. I wanted to create a partnership between the two men based on Sherlock Holmes, but for the characters to have a different relationship. The tagline for my TV episode is, "I'm rather fond of you too." I chose this as my tagline because it's the ending line and it will get my audience interested.